Welcome back, Blurred Summits. Today, we're going to be talking about trust. So why trust is important, why we trust the wrong people, and ways to figure out... Wait, how to stop trusting the wrong people. Okay, I forgot the last one. I didn't read through them. I put them at the top, and I was like, okay. So, welcome back to episode 48 of Blurred Summits. Today, we're going to be talking about trust. So we're going to talk about why trust is important, why we're trusting the wrong people, and how to stop trusting the wrong people. So, Abdul, why is trust important?
So we know the basic reason, right? Like, you trust people, it makes your life easier, you can depend on other people, whatever. Mm-hmm. But why is trust important from like a biological perspective, right? Trust is a hardwired element of who we are as human beings.
Yeah.
It's hardwired. The reason why it's hardwired is because human beings, compared to every other animal, has one of the highest dependency, time as children compared to other animals. So, we take 15 to 18 years to become independent as humans. Mm-hmm. Like, we're born, we can't even walk.
Yeah.
Other animals, they're born, they start, like deers, they're born, they literally start walking right away.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. That's common for a lot of animals because they need to be able to survive on their own, to do things on their own. We can't do that. So as a child, you need to start trusting people right away.
Yeah.
If you don't trust people, you're literally going to die.
As you would say, we're pooched.
We're pooched, right? And it's for, it's a good trade-off. Reason why we can't walk like deers, right, when we're born is because our heads are so big.
Yeah.
Right? And this is good because it means that we can think better. We're self-aware creatures, stuff like that. But the downside is that we are bad at surviving. So we need to trust.
Yeah.
In fact, they literally show that within an hour of a child's birth is when you make your first trust contract.
They're already trusting people.
Because within the first hour of a child being born, they open their eyes and they look. Mm-hmm. And what they look for is they look for another pair of eyes and another face. This is ingrained in our biology. Mm-hmm. Once they attach the face of their mother, for example, they attach the face, this is my caregiver. So now I implant my trust in this person. What they find is within a few hours of being born, the child begins to orient themselves towards their mother. So when they hear their mother's voice, they begin to tilt.
Oh, wow.
Towards their mother, because that's what trust really is, right? Mm-hmm. Like, they know that this person, I trust them with my life from the moment I'm born. So trust isn't just this psychological thing, it's a biological thing. Yeah. It's implanted within our genes.
It's an innate thing of humanity to trust individuals.
And it's absolutely necessary for our life survival. If we can't trust people, we can't survive, period.
That's why we trust people, is because we view it as a survival tactic.
Yeah,
right?
And it's within us. It's a part of who we are. It's a part of the human experience. You cannot live your life not trusting anyone. Mm-hmm. You'll be pooched.
Yeah. That's your favorite term there.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, I think with a lot of this trust stuff, right, apart from the biology, people kind of use it in like friendships and things like that.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
To trust people, trust their word, trust that they're actually going to do things, things like that, right?
Yeah.
So I think it is something that, even though it's hardwired in like the biology side of things, we're still using it on our sociological side of how we live.
There's actually a really cool experiment where they basically had people work in a group to solve a problem. And what they got is when you first were introduced to the person to like touch you on your back, touch you on your shoulder, soft touch, just a friendly touch, right? And people whose backs were touched were actually a lot more cooperative and a lot more trusting in these random team members compared to people who weren't.
Handshake.
Yeah. Right? So physical touch actually has a role to play within trust, right?
Yeah. It's like you get connected, you're grounded with that person. Mm-hmm. You get in that zone.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, I think the big thing here is everyone kind of knows how we innately trust people. But I think it's important we move into why we trust the wrong people. Yeah. Because it's always good if we trust the right people.
It's easy to trust everyone.
Yeah.
But maybe you shouldn't.
Yeah. I think, you definitely shouldn't, right? You can't, not everyone is going to be able to, for the biological side, protect you for your life. So we need to figure out who the people are that we can and can't actually trust and be able to separate them and pick the right people. So the first one here is why we trust the wrong people is we desperately want to believe them even though we know what they're offering is too good to be true, right?
Yeah.
So this is like, what's a good example of this?
Elon Musk.
Let's hear it then.
Elon Musk in an interview, it was a very famous, popular interview. He said, one of the biggest difficulties of being an entrepreneur or a human in general is wishful thinking. And wishful thinking is exactly this idea. It's you want something so badly to be true, even though you know it's wrong. So you turn a blind eye to the signs
and just hope it'll actually come true.
And hope it actually comes true. But this is one of the biggest destroyers of companies, of businesses, you know, of relationships as well.
Yeah, I think the big one is that it's like when you meet someone, it's like, oh, they say they can help you with this thing even though they don't know what they're doing. It's like oftentimes in like a job interview, people will lie and say, hey, I can do this stuff, but they can't. And the interviewer will be like, I don't think that's true, but we'll just kind of go with it. Then you lose the trust because eventually when you realize that they can't follow through with their promises, you'll then lose this trust.
Yeah.
So then you have to question, why was I even trusting them in the first place? Even though I knew deep down the likelihood of this thing happening was like zero. It wasn't going to happen. Yet you let them in and tried to and gave them your trust. Like giving someone your trust is a big deal. You gave them your trust just for them to rip it away from you.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is oftentimes we give people our trust super easily the first time, way more than we should the first time. When they break that trust, it is so difficult for them to regain our trust the second time. So it's actually an issue. We should trust people less initially, but and give them a higher chance to come back.
Yeah, because if they were able to prove it the first time, then they should be able to. But it's like, hey, if you give everyone your trust, then it's going to be like, hey, second chances aren't no second chances. You got to work really hard. And then third chance, it's like, oh, you're pooched.
Yeah,
you're done.
Exactly.
You're done.
So it's, you know, instead of living on the extremes of, you know, trust everyone or trust no one or trust the person fully or don't trust them at all, maybe we kind of exist in that little middle realm is the better of the solutions.
Yeah. So this next one here is they validate what we need to hear about ourselves, right? So say you're kind of negative thinking about yourself. You're not looking down on who you are. They come and they kind of pick you up, which I mean, some people are. They're picking you up to their advantage, right? They're saying, oh, I need to do it. They're like, oh, you're amazing at that. You can do this. You can do that. They're being, because, what is the word? They're being over optimistic about things, even though they don't know that you can actually do things. They're kind of saying what you need to hear without being actually truthful about a situation.
So, okay. And that's why we trust them more?
Yeah. It's because we feel like since they know what I need to do or what I need, they must be trustworthy. But they're really, what they're doing is using deception to get close to you.
And that's kind of a confirmation bias as well, isn't it?
That's pretty much what it is they're like, hey, because people, like we said, we trust people early, so they'll kind of say something about their life.
We'll butter you up.
Yeah, like because when you're vulnerable, you'll say some stuff when you're down. They'll take that, they're like, oh, they need to hear this type of stuff, and just say it back to you in a way to confirm, confirmation bias, pick you up in the exact areas that they need it, which is dangerous, like, because you don't know sometimes you might know the answer, but you won't be able to take them up and away, right? Just be like, look.
Yeah, and when you are validated about what you believe reality to be, then that's a dangerous trap to get yourself into. Yeah. Because confirmation bias it's a cognitive bias that we spoke about in a previous episode.
Last week. Yeah. But I think it can get dangerous there because you get caught off guard and you think that they know everything that you need to get helped with. So then you'll start relying on them. They've got no idea. They're just talking BS just to then get you closer to them, right? To maybe help with some of their narrative and help some of their problems. So the next one that kind of is based off of that is they appear as if they are winners, right? So these are people, so they're insanely charismatic, persuasive, and what they're doing seems like it's super impressive, right? So these are people, like they're emotional manipulators, narcissists, that sort of thing, right? Where they are tricking you and changing the way you are thinking to make them appear as if they are this insanely perfect person that you need in your life.
There was I actually have a funny story about this. I just remembered it. So one time, a series of events happened, and I went to this one meeting for a multi-level marketing scheme. Now, word of warning, I did not personally sign up for this, but I was doing it out of a favor.
What were they selling?
I'm not going to say.
Just say, no, it's not. I'm not saying the company. What were they selling?
No, I'm not going to say because I don't want to just throw the person who, anyways, under the bus. So anyways, so I go to this. The person who was there, extremely charismatic. Do you know how charismatic? Like, this guy remembered everyone's name off the bat. You told him your name one time, he remembered everyone's name. And I was like ridiculously impressed. I was like, oh my God, there's no way. But the interesting thing is that charisma is what ended up selling people on this scam.
They think that they're on your team.
They think that, exactly. They make you believe, right? He's using my first name. How does this guy remember my first name? Oh my God,
really
it's amazing.
about me.
Like, really care about me. And, if it wasn't blatantly obvious that this was a scam, then I definitely would have fell for it. So, yeah, we'll get into that story a different time. But yeah, it's very interesting to see that,
because you get drawn into people super easily based on those things, right? And if they're just using that as a facade to get closer to you, to gain your trust, right? These are all these things are things where people are using it to gain your trust for an ulterior motive that they have, right? Like, it's not necessarily out of the goodwill of their heart, because they feel like, hey, if I do this, then maybe I can get something from them, like the multi-level marketing. Yeah, like it's super dangerous and a slippery slope that if you're not kind of looking out for it, because like lots of times you're in vulnerable places when these types of people come into your life. Right? So it's like if you're not super conscious, even with all of these, like, you want to believe something even if they're over pitching all of these ones so far. Like,
are you kidding me? That event had, if you looked at the population who was attending that event, what was it? It was immigrants. It was like a lot of people who came from minority backgrounds, who were like maybe a little bit older, stuff like that. Or it was students who are trying to make a quick buck. And, you're trying to make a quick buck. This guy comes to you, presents himself as an extremely trustworthy person. Why wouldn't I trust him? Yeah. He's remembering my name. Right?
They're playing the game. They know what's up. That's why these multi-level marketing schemes, they do so well. Yeah. Because they're playing with the mind.
It's insane.
So the next one here is they make us feel as if someone finally recognizes our talents, right? So it's like I said previously, it's similar to some of the other ones, is they hit us right in our Achilles heel, like our weakness, something that we realize that maybe we say a weakness, something we're insecure about, something comes up. They take that, they puff it up. They say, hey, no, you're amazing, this. Yeah. That, to make you feel super confident, make you feel wanted, make you feel a part of things, right? Yeah. Like, they bolster your confidence.
This is so funny that I completely forgot about the multi-level market. It's basically a pyramid scheme, let's be real.
But yeah, part of this, again, with this one, is it makes you feel way better in their presence, right? So they're kind of tricking you into thinking, hey, I need this person to make me feel happy. Yeah. So then you come to rely on this person.
And this is something that the guy used at that event, is he would definitely say to people, you seem like a very bright person, right? You seem like this would be perfect for you because you're so hardworking, right? You're charismatic. You're a good people person. This is an amazing opportunity for you. And they really sell you on these characteristics about yourself. Like, let's be real. I met you 20 minutes ago. You know nothing about how charismatic I am, right? As far as you're concerned, I'm just a normal person. Why am I all of a sudden so hardworking? You haven't seen me work at all, right? So it's definitely interesting, especially when a person pumps you up for no apparent reason. You need to start asking yourself, why is this person pumping me up for no apparent reason? Right? Like, imagine if you meet a person right away,
why do they want me to be confident, and
they're pumping you up on things that they don't know about. Like, it's different. Let's say you have a friend and they know things about you. Yeah. They know that you're a hardworking person. They say, oh, wow, you're such a hardworking person. Okay, that's fine. You can trust that person. Absolutely. Take the compliment, right? Yeah. Don't be so cynical all the time. Yeah. But if it's a random person, they've never seen you work, and they say that you're hardworking, isn't that just an arbitrary compliment?
They just want to gain your trust of some sort of kind, right? Yeah. So a lot of this kind of leads into this last one, which is the biggest overarching one, which is, like we mentioned earlier, you give up your trust right away without doing your due diligence and slowly working your way for them to build up their trust, like you said, right? So instantly you start talking to someone, it's like, oh, I trust this person. They seem nice. They seem kind. They seem like they care about me. All these sort of things, all this list basically. Yeah. And you just give them your trust. All you're asking for is it to be broken down, out of shattered, right? Yeah. So if you make them work for the trust, like, okay, build up a relationship before you fully trust them.
And the interesting thing is, it's like sometimes we think that I can't have a meaningful relationship with someone unless I trust them. And that's not true.
No.
Right? Like you can have an amazing conversation with somebody, a very meaningful conversation with somebody, and you don't trust them.
And you don't need to have, like, you don't have to have trust as that reliance factor to tie you two together.
Yeah.
Just
right?
something in common, something passion, things like that, right?
Exactly. You know, if you need to give up parts of yourself and for you to have a meaningful experience with someone, you need to sort of question that relationship.
Society's sort of changed and it almost pushed us in that way where when you're meeting someone new, you almost have to give up your trust, right? Like if you're trying to get to know someone, you have to trust them. I feel like that's the way society's sort of been molded, where when you're meeting someone new, you start to trust them and then you lose it and then they're done. You give that one bout of trust and then it's gone.
Yeah.
Instead of giving how it should be is, hey, you meet someone, build it up, trust those grow until you fully trust them.
Yeah, I think like maybe a good way to practically do it is have a threshold. Mm-hmm. So for everyone that I meet, I trust them to this amount. These are things that I'm willing to part ways with.
Yeah.
Right?
Like multiple times a day for whatever it is.
Exactly. For whoever it is. And then that's kind of like one threshold of trust that you kind of give to everybody. Mm-hmm. You know, because you don't want to be that person who doesn't trust anyone.
Yeah.
Like you do. You need to give
you
up.
can give them like minor tasks, but you don't want to give them your full-fledged 100% trust.
And then there is things that you trust to your friends. Mm-hmm. That's another threshold. And then there is a top threshold, which is like maybe this is only your absolute closest friend. Maybe this is the person that you're only in an intimate relationship. Maybe this is just the person that you end up marrying. That's only these people are allowed this barrier of trust.
Yeah.
Right? And this is kind of your complete trust, your absolute trust. Mm-hmm. And so maybe setting up these 3 different thresholds allows a person to easily set up boundaries, know when to step away, know when each threshold is being broken.
Yeah.
Right? And kind of go out a little bit systematically.
Yeah, I think it's risk management is what that really comes down to, right?
Yeah.
It's like, at what point is it too risky for me to give them all this trust for no reason? When do they have to earn this trust, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously if it's someone really close friend, the likelihood of them taking away or ruining this trust is much lower than someone you just met.
Yeah.
So therefore, they deserve more trust. You can kind of work at it that way through people. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be a one-on-one basis or definitive things, just like a sub little mental cue in your mind.
And there's maybe some things that put people on fast tracks. So for example, if I meet a mutual friend of a friend of mine and they are close friends, then I can more quickly trust this person
if you
rather
really
than
trust
a random
that other
person.
Yeah, because like if they trust them, then why?
Exactly. So they kind of get a fast track.
Yeah.
But you still kind of want to vet the people that you're giving pieces of your soul to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So let's move on here. So if you're the type of person, this person listening right now, the type of person to constantly give in to trust to the wrong people, and like you're committing everything to them before you fully know who they are, we'll give you a couple tips and some questions you can ask yourself. So then you can really check yourself and be like, is this person someone that I really should be giving your trust to, right?
Yeah.
Because when you're like quickly rushing into things and give people your trust, you're not really understanding the risks of it. But if you pause, take a step back, think about it, think with yourself, is this someone that really deserves my trust with these questions we're going to provide? Then you'll understand, okay, maybe they are someone I can trust. Maybe there's someone that deserves this threshold of trust, right? So this first one, do they remind me of someone in my past, right? So it's like, okay, am I giving them this trust, one, because they remind me, or do I feel like I'm trying to trust them because they remind me of someone that I used to know? Someone I used to trust, right? Something, they're sort of getting this, like you said, that kind of speed route or whatever. Fast pass. They're getting this fast pass for no reason, just because you remember, they remind you of someone.
And something even worse than that is that sometimes we trust toxic people because in our past there have been toxic people, and so we stay in a cycle of toxicity. Right? So if this person has a lot of characteristics similar to toxic people in your past, you're going to be more likely to trust them because of the senses of security, the sense of familiarity, even if they're toxic and you know they're toxic. So really avoid those people.
But yeah, so I think what that really comes down to is, are you letting them gain your trust for something that's not really justified?
Yeah.
The next one here is, by trusting this person, whoops, I lost my spot. Am I trying to fix or heal a big problem in my life in the shortest way possible? So am I trying to take a shortcut to we'll say happiness, shortcut to happiness by trusting this individual?
Yeah.
If the answer is yes, it's probably too good to be true, right? Because it's like, hey, if you do this thing, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is.
Right.
So you really need to be careful. It's like, am I using this as a shortcut? If the answer is yes, be like, maybe that's not the best thing for me.
Yeah.
Maybe taking the shortcut will end up in more harm than what it will.
Rome
right?
wasn't built in a day.
You love your Rome references.
Rome.
But yeah, like rushing through things usually will end up with maybe you'll be missing the support, maybe something, and then eventually the whole house will collapse down.
Yeah.
And it's really not worth taking that shortcut and that risk just for this little bit of an extra maybe
Absolutely.
a bit more short-term happiness, right?
And you think about it, if it takes a while to build a real strong brick house, but the brick house is what saved the three little piggies. It wasn't the straw house. Straw house, it was easy to build. The brick house, it's tiring. You got the cement, you got the bricks, you got to put it layer by layer.
Takes,
it's
a lot
bit
of work.
by bit. But once it's built up, then you can be confident it won't be blown away.
Yeah.
The straw house, you could easily toss a couple straws together, bam, 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 whatever.
And it
That's
might
the
work
real
until there's a
moral
little
of the
storm.
story, huh?
It might work for a light storm, but if the big storm comes,
Yeah. When push comes to shove,
or you
when breeze turns to blow, in the case of the wolf, right?
yeah.
There you go.
So this next one, does this situation remind me of another situation that went wrong in my life? So it's basically reflecting on the things that you've done in the past and be like, so if I had this type of person, was trying to trust this type of person, did it happen? Did something go wrong in the past with that? Yes? Then avoid it, right? Like you said, the toxic bit, right? Like, yeah, I trusted this toxic person in the past, ended terribly.
Yeah.
But then you're saying just because you've done it in the past, you're going to go innately go do it again.
This goes to the idea of wishful thinking as well. This idea that, oh, wait, okay, so in the past, this was bad, but this time it'll be different.
Yeah, that's like if you're not actually asking these questions, you'll try to trick yourself. But if you do that, like, wait, it didn't work in the past.
You need to be brutally
why
honest.
Will this time be different?
Exactly. If the circumstances are the same, the outcome is going to be the same.
Yeah, exactly.
You'd be a fool to think otherwise.
Exactly. These now this one's kind of pretty blatant. Are there any outward signs that I should not trust this person? The red flags. Are there any red flags early days?
So referees in soccer are just not going to be it because they have the right. Never mind. Okay.
But they're not holding it up all the time. but yeah, like are there like people love to avoid the red flags, right? Like people talk about relationships. Oh, what was this red flag you ignored?
Right.
Why did you ignore the red flag?
Yeah. It's difficult.
Like when you're like early, like you probably had like one or two conversations with the person you're sitting down. I'm like, were there any red flags? Was there something that I'm like, that's a little odd.
Yeah.
Is this a warning? Is this a risk? Usually red flags, you need to acknowledge them and at least think about them yourself. Is this really a red flag or is it something I'm overreacting to? You just have to ask yourself that question.
Because, if there is the issue, sometimes what we do is we believe that issues are going to disappear if I just kind of let them simmer away themselves.
Yeah.
Very rarely does that ever come true. Most of the time, they're not going to simmer away. They're going to blow up and become worse. And they're just going to snowball into a big issue.
If you avoid it, then it's like, look,
right?
So something's going to come from it eventually.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of when.
Yeah.
And that's, if you choose to avoid the red flags, then that's just something you have to kind of accept that it's going to happen eventually. Which is unfortunate,
true.
But okay. So this next one is, what do other people I trust share about this person's demeanor, behavior, and trustworthiness? Right. So it's like, are there any similarities between the people that I trust and this person? So if you like comparing, it's like, oh yeah, they're super similar to this friend that I really, really, really trust. Maybe they could get a bit of that fast pass. It's like they've got all like similar behaviors, similar mannerisms.
Yeah.
That. Because usually if they're...
Similar upbringings maybe as well.
Because if they have similar roots, usually they'll kind of be going down a similar path. Maybe you don't have to give them all your trust, but usually that's a good sign that, hey, they seem like someone that I can actually trust because they've got the same characteristics, ideas as this other person that I'm a friend with.
Yeah. And this one probably relates more towards, the personality, the belief systems, et cetera, rather than what the person looks like. Yeah.
So
otherwise, you're just racist.
Second last one here. I also zoned out there, so I didn't even hear what you said. But yeah. Next one. do I have an intuition or sense about this person that I'm ignoring? This doesn't have to be red flags. This is my gut telling me something different than my heart?
Right.
Is my gut like, something seems off here, boss? Tread carefully, calm down, slow down.
Yeah.
What is that stuff, right? Because
Your gut feeling, that's always right,
Because the
man.
red flags are the big obvious things. Those are the things that are blatant. But is there something deep down that my body is innately telling me, hey, watch out for this. Something's bad's going to happen.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're like, oh no, that's just my gut. It's probably something wrong. There's nothing serious going on here. I'm okay. And then something happens. And it's like, why did that happen? Oh, because I knew it was going to happen. I just ignored it.
Gut feelings are tough. They're really tough.
Well, like you feel them, right? Like you innately be like, okay, that's what it is.
Yeah.
You just got to go with it. That's what it is, right? So the last one here, do my mentors and advisors think it makes sense for me to trust this individual? So that mentors, advisors could be people you really trust, like your super close friends. Could be if you actually have a mentor, them, peers. Yeah. Do they trust this individual? Or your
family.
Yeah.
If your family hates this person, there's a reason why.
Do your family friends trust this person, or do they think you should trust this person?
Yeah.
Because if they know them, then it's like, do they trust them? Yes, no.
And they'll usually tell you too. They'll tell you like, yeah, this person is right.
But obviously, if they don't know them, then it's like, what is their gut telling you? Because sometimes your gut is off.
And sometimes you are blinded.
Yeah, you're
by
being trapped.
The circumstance,
being blinded. Yeah, by the light.
And you need that third perspective, that third person perspective, to tell you it's a no-go here, bud.
Yeah, because sometimes, you want something so bad that you just like it just kind of blocks it out. Like even if you do these questions, you might not even realize that you're forgetting some flags, your gut, and all this stuff, right? So if they pass all these individual about me questions, then ask your people, ask your circle. What do you think? Should I trust this guy? Do you think it's good? And if they all say yes, then
yeah, because sometimes, like literally, sometimes I've had times where my friends meet a person, and I look at the person, and I'm just sitting there thinking, and I'm like,
something's off.
There's just something is off. Mm-hmm. You know, maybe they remind me of somebody who I know.
But see, that's the same thing. Is if they're reminding you of someone that you've experienced. Yeah, that's a flag. You can use your experience to help them.
And afterwards, I just think I'm like, yeah, this is probably not the best case for you. Mm-hmm. So
that's just something that you got to admit. Sometimes people only like if you're going to ask your friends, you have to be willing of whatever they say. You can't be going in there looking for that yes answer, right? Like a lot of people want it just to be kind of confirmed. They just don't care if it's a no. They want to make sure that you're going to go to them and they're going to say, yes, this is a good person. I trust them. I like them, right? You have to be willing to go to them and they say, no, I don't think this person's trustworthy. Here are the reasons why. And then you take that and not trust them, or at least give them a harder time to gain your trust.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of times where people can ask for support. They don't like the answer they hear and just go on the way that they were going before. And it's like, why are you asking for support in the first place? But
man, I wanted to say something. It slipped my mind. I want to say a very important point about trust. I forgot it. Whatever. Damn, I really wanted to say it. Anyhow. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning into today's episode about trusting people, why we need to trust people, when we sometimes trust the wrong people, and how to avoid it by using some of the questions that we presented to you guys today. Do not ignore those red flags. Thank you guys so much for tuning into today's episode. If you'd like to catch the full video podcast, you can watch it on YouTube. The full audio podcast is out on all platforms. Also, be sure to follow us on Instagram and TikTok for daily content.